Hey, it's great to have everyone back in here for another Nebraska Live here one day late than usual because of Christmas Eve, but on a Christmas night. Welcome into Nebraska Live number 10 with Greg Peterson from Husker Online. Before we dive into the football talk, I want to remind everyone that Nebraska Live comes your way, brought to you by the fine folks and the Husker fans at Phone Genie. These folks wanted to do a Nebraska show so bad, they said, hey, we'll sponsor your show. And just check out their germ mitigation products over at ToleyBrothersLLC.com. It's right there on the banner, ToleyBrothersLLC.com, germ mitigation products. We know what we're going through with this pandemic now, lingering now for 10 or 11 months at this point. Please, both for home and for workspace use, check out what they've got right there at ToleyBrothersLLC.com. Phone Genie. Greg, Merry Christmas. How you doing today?
Merry Christmas to you too, Mark. I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm good. Pretty much the way my setup's been here for quite a long time. Christmas is pretty much Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve's pretty much when we do everything, got the kids over, and then they leave on Christmas Day. So by about noon, we've got it wrapped up, and it's just then becomes another day. So why not talk some football?
There you go. Always time for that.
Well, if nothing else, we didn't know about a bowl game as of, a week to 10 days ago. All the bowl bids are out. The bowls are scheduled. Nebraska, nothing postseason play now for a fourth consecutive year, right?
Yeah.
That's now four consecutive years.
Since the Music City Bowl in Nashville, I'm like, what's going on there today, too? Boy, that just – But, it's been a while for a bowl game, and feel sorry for the folks there in Nashville right now.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen. So we get hit with bad news from time to time, and that's the latest. Yes, a Music City Bowl game against Tennessee, as I recall.
Alvin Kamara, who just had 6 touchdowns today, too.
It all kind of comes full circle. Yeah, he's turned out to be a pretty good football player at the next level.
Yep.
Absolutely. So the Huskers went down in that one to think, I believe they had a 9-win season that year, 9-4 under Mike Riley.
Yep.
38-24. I tend to remember scores. Does that sound about right?
That's about right. Yeah. Riker Fife, if I could say that right, had to finish the season off there for injured Tommy Armstrong. And they were in that game, but just a little bit too much Tennessee for him, a little bit too much Alvin Kamara. So, but still some fond memories. Would like to get back to a bowl game because that was usually one of the highlights of the year. It always brings back a lot of fond memories. I think probably one of my fondest. We go back to what was it, 2011, 2012, down in Orlando, and we were at for the trip was the Universal Studios trip, and we went through the whole park with Rex Burkhead and Amir Abdullah and Will Compton and who else would it have been? Martinez. So there you go. That was a lot of fun going around with those guys the whole day and sharing the day with them. And, those kind of things, they mean a lot to college football players. And, to go 4 years in a row to have a whole senior class that didn't even get to go to a bowl game, it's hard to imagine. So, this is the time of year that's usually going on. And, I thought last year, I even mentioned it to, family members and friends. I said, hey, don't get used to having me around at Christmas because, we're going to start going to bowl games again here pretty shortly. And we're still waiting.
Orlando, that sounds like one of those 2 trips against Georgia.
Yeah.
Right around the same time frame.
It was against Georgia. Yep. I got a picture of me and Uga on the sideline before the game.
Yeah, there was the one game where they in 2012, you talk about picking up a pretty rough draw for a Nebraska team that was good, but they were like top 20, 25 good. And they had to face that Georgia team that lost to Alabama by that much to miss a BCS championship game. And that team was loaded. That was a good game. Nebraska stayed in the game, but Aaron Murray and those receivers might have been just a little bit too much. Todd Gurley and company late in the game. But then a couple of years later, they got some payback.
Yep, got him back. So it always seems, for some reason, bowl matchups always kind of seem to involve the same teams with Nebraska a lot of the times. So, you kind of get those chances for revenge. But, you got to love those. You got to love those Big Ten SEC matchups. I think that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of pride for the Big Ten, when they can go in there and actually beat an SEC team and hold a little bit of bragging rights, because I think everybody knows what the SEC fans are like with their arrogance a little bit about their college football.
And from a big picture standpoint, those, regardless of how good the SEC gets, those are the two power brokers in the sport.
They
From
are.
the standpoint of the TV ratings, the rear ends in the seats, they always average the top crowds in attendance by far. They make the most money. They're the two conferences that own the sport. So when they meet on the field, it obviously means a lot as well. Yeah, as soon as you mentioned Nebraska running into the same teams, I thought of Washington as well. Didn't they go two consecutive years with Washington?
Yeah, actually, they played them twice in the same year,
in the same season.
Yeah. So that was odd, but it seems like you get stuck with if that Pac-10 matchup you're getting. It seems like you're going to get that a couple years in a row, and it's bowl seasons is just kind of strange. What kind of matchups you end up getting? I think old school fans, especially old school Nebraska fans, would always be used to Nebraska going down and playing in Miami every year. So, it's been a little bit of trying to get used to going to, a kind of a lesser bowl game, if I want to say, instead of playing for those national titles like they used to do all the time against the U and against the Gators and against the Seminoles. So
Merry Christmas to everybody in the live chat, and certainly take this opportunity to leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics, anything that you would like to serve up for Greg and myself. Of course, he's the Nebraska expert. I'll chime in on anything that I would like to dive into as well. And so leave those comments and those questions right there. There's so much that's happened in the last week that I actually had to ask Greg before we started to record. When was that Rutgers game? Well, we haven't done a show since the Rutgers game. It seems like it was forever ago because there was a full weekend of football after it, since it kicked off a Big Ten championship weekend on a Friday night. So we haven't had a chance to talk about at least a win to conclude the season, coming back from 7 down at halftime, if I remember, 14-7 to take the win over Rutgers. So your good impressions from that one.
Again, we're a broken record around here, but turnovers and mistakes, it's just plagues this team left and right. And, obviously, probably if you're not playing Rutgers, you don't win that game. And I'm not to take a shot at Rutgers there or anything like that, but, but on the positive side, the defense did keep them in that game and give them a chance to win, which they ended up doing. Offensively, it's just still just such a question mark. Our Adrian Martinez played well at times. Put up some big numbers, put up some big rushing numbers. Then you saw Dedrick Mills get involved finally. Not sure what took him so long to finally start running the ball, and so obviously, just run the ball guy was happy with the outcome of that game. But as an offense, we still haven't seen any progression here. There's no identity right now, and you're relying on your defense just to keep you in the game, and it's not going to happen every week doing that and putting that much pressure on the defense. But looking ahead, though, I like to see a lot of things that I saw on that defensive line really improved, and that's something to hang your hat on and move forward with. You're going to lose a lot of linebacker depth, and you got a lot of young guys there stepping up, and they're going to have to take over the reins. And a secondary that has some young talented guys, but you're also going to lose some, and there's some question marks with who might come back and play again. So overall, definitely is nice to send those guys out with a win. It gives you a little bit of hope, but like I said, you're still kind of stuck in the same spot, winning 3 or 4 games, and you're going into year 4 under Scott Frost and his staff, and we haven't really seen any progression yet. So, there's things that we have to look forward to, and hopefully they can get things fixed. And right now is the time to go back and reevaluate yourself, and it starts from the top on down. So, I'm sure that they've got several things that they're talking about, and does that mean personnel moves? Who knows? But like I also mentioned, you're not sure who's all coming back to play yet either for next year. We just learned recently here that senior Bo Wilson's going to move on, and he's put his name into the transfer portal, and I expect a few more of those at least. So, and they have spots open for the reverse. So we don't know what this roster is going to look like yet, and we probably won't know for a few months yet until they get back to it for spring ball.
I've been listening to you looking at the box score just to refresh my memory of this game.
Yeah.
And what happened again? I had forgotten Dedrick Mills went for 191.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He. That's what old school Nebraska, just the run guy, has been clamoring for all season long, and you finally got it. Which, yeah, that's the way Nebraska used to win a lot of football games, and a lot of people want to see them bring that type of game back, which kind of makes me think that Nebraska fans like boring football. If you're going to run the ball 60 times a game, right up the middle, but you know what? You got to do it. You got to do what you got to do sometimes to get a win, and that's what they did. And now we want to see a little bit of balance between that, because Dedrick Mills looked like he got stronger and stronger as that game went along, and the 1-2 punch of him and Adrian Martinez. Adrian carried the ball. What was it, like 19 times too, I think, and all designed runs. So they really had that run game going, and that was the nice thing that you could see, because they finally played a physical game. That line finally did what you wanted to see them do, and just smash Rutgers in the mouth and keep on driving it down like the pipeline used to do here in Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska used to tell you what they were going to run, and they dared you to stop them. And that's kind of the way that game kind of unfolded once they started getting rolling. But then it leaves a lot of question marks too about, where are these receivers that we've been waiting to see too. So, you got to have that mix to play in the Big Ten. You've got to be able to run the ball, but you got to have that mix too. Because who's won the Big Ten West? You're trailing these teams. Who's the last 3 winners? You got Wisconsin, you got Iowa, you got Northwestern. What do? They run the ball. They run the ball every year in and year out. And that's how you be successful in this league.
Yeah, there's certainly a foundation of running the football. It's not 1975 where you're going to run it 60 times and throw it 8, but it's run first. It's a run first conference, and especially division. But yeah, you got to have balance. Those teams are still throwing the ball 25 times a game, but they're pretty heavy on the run at like 60-40, 65-35, something in that range. So we got a question in here from 11 YPE Central. So I'm going to do a call-in show as soon as we're done with our Nebraska show here. So I'll be taking your calls. So hang on right here, and I'll take your calls after our Nebraska show. And the comment made here by Paul, and we appreciate, we got a super chat coming in, and I will post that and get to that in just a second. But Paul reminds me here that since it's bowl season, he's saying Hawkeye baby, there's a different approach by different fan bases, Greg. So I want to get a good read from you and the Nebraska fan base, especially being a newer member to the Big Ten, because you've got, most famously in the SEC, they seem to all root for each other. Then you've got maybe other. It seems to me that after the SEC, that the Big Ten is maybe the second league that seems to be the most unified. To a certain extent, maybe just it just kind of feels that way. And I grew up in Ohio, lived there most of my life and still have strong ties there. So I know what I'm talking about. And I worked in the SEC for 8 years, and it's just, you don't even have to live or work down there. You just know, you can see it. No other place do you go to NCAA basketball tournaments and they're chanting SEC or bowl games. But I find it interesting talking to different fans and hearing the feedback, because some of them maintain that, we're Michigan fans, we hate Michigan State, so we don't even root for them in bowl games. And other people have this conference allegiance where the team that they hated the most 3 weeks ago, now they're rooting for them in a bowl game. Do you think Nebraska fans really have much allegiance to the Big Ten or root for the Big Ten during bowl play?
I would say yes and no. Obviously, I think when the conference is doing well and say that they're like 6-2 right now in bowl games, I think that's something that they hang their hats on and they're going to root for that. But individually, I don't think they're going to be rooting for that team whatsoever. Nebraska fans they're kind of in their own world that way. It's kind of like us against the world type of a mentality. And, it's like that was started from a Iowa, fan. And I would probably say to a T, I don't think there's hardly any Husker fans that care one way or the other if Iowa wins their bowl game or not. But if it's on that conference side, oh yeah, Big Ten, they won, they beat the SEC, yay! That's good. Yeah, we'll take that. But Nebraska fans probably aren't going to go out of their way to even tell you that, though, because they are regarded as one of the nicest fan bases as far as when other fans come around here. And I haven't seen that. I spent 10 years too living in Nashville covering SEC stuff, and yeah, it's a different monster down there. But with the one thing of the bowls, though, Nebraska fans, they hold that so special as it's like a reward, and the bowl community knows how big Nebraska travels for a bowl game, and you can be have a sub 500 record and make it in there. And they'll still go follow you to that bowl game. But, and that's just kind of the way there's nothing else really for people to get behind in this state. So they hold that bowl game is very special. That used to be like somebody's holidays were planned around that bowl trip, and they wanted to know exactly where they were going because they already had pre-purchased tickets to some places that they thought they might be going to. So, it's like I said, it's a Christmas present around here, and they haven't had that for 4 years now, and I think it makes this bowl season much different. And I don't know if people are really that much into it. We've seen so many schools turn down bowl games already. There's no fans there. None of that fun stuff that you get to do on a bowl trip is going on. You don't get to go spend your Best Buy gift card that they give you on a spending spree, that kind of stuff. And it's basically you go practice somewhere and you're locked in a hotel. So how much of a reward is this this season?
Yeah, Nebraska, if I remember correctly, was part of a very, very small collection of teams that were the first collection under that 5-7 rule that losing record teams could make bowl games, and they took on UCLA that year and pulled off a pretty nice little upset against UCLA in a bowl game. UCLA, I think, was 8-4 in that one with Tommy Armstrong and company, which might have been Nebraska's last bowl victory.
Yeah, it was. Barney Cotton was actually the interim head coach for that game. Because Mike Riley was there watching it. Mike Riley had just been hired, and that was their last bowl win. So it's kind of a strange deal. I think that was the Holiday Bowl, I believe.
There you go. Yep. Shane Castellanos, thank you so much for the Super Jack contribution. Appreciate that so much. Mark is dedicated to his passion, college football. Does a great job even when super tired. I hope that's not showing. Hit the like button, y'all. Great show. Go Miami. Well, Shane, thank you so much for your contribution. Appreciate that. let me ask you this, Greg. In the spirit of the holiday season and this being Christmas Day itself, I'm going to give you a wish list that you can present to Santa for Nebraska football for 2021. 3 wishes. Well, what do you want?
Oh boy. It's too bad that most of the signing class is already done, isn't it? Yeah, a couple of 5 stars would be nice. No, besides that, I want a pass rush. That would be number 1. I want a special teams unit that does not make mistakes. And I want to get a balanced offense that gains over 500 yards a game in and game out. How's that?
Sounds good. There we go.
That's kind of greedy.
Nebraska fans, if you'd like to let us know what is on your wish list for Nebraska football here coming up in 2021, we will read those off. Do you know off the top of your head who the big non-conference game is? Is it Oklahoma in 2021?
Yeah, it's Murderers Row. Oklahoma, Buffalo. Buffalo just won a bowl game today. Yeah, they start with Buffalo, then you got Oklahoma. Well, actually, no. We're supposed to start with that Ireland game against Illinois before week 0, and then they have week 0 off, and it's Buffalo, Oklahoma, and then the crossover Big Ten games are Ohio State, Michigan State, and so yeah, you get Murderers Row coming here, so. It's not a nice schedule.
That rotation with the East Division, is that a 3-year rotation? So if they pick up Ohio State, is that 3? Is that how they're working that? Or I think
it's 2, but it seemed that it just happened this way because they just had changed that rule. So they got Ohio State 3 times.
Okay.
So lucky them. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. They just changed it.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is, but yeah. So, yeah, they're not doing any favors. This was the year that they really needed to show some progress because you don't have any room to stumble around next year. Now, who knows if that game in Ireland's going to happen? But they'll still open the season against Illinois with a conference game, and you got Brent Bielema now taking over there, so I expect Illinois to start being a little bit tougher of a draw coming up. So, yeah, I mean, they didn't get any favors done to them the way the schedule came out, and that's put together so many years in advance. And but everybody's looking forward to that Oklahoma game. That's for sure.
I didn't realize until the other day that Illinois pumped some serious money into a new football facility. Much like Minnesota and Northwestern in recent years. So, like you say, they probably had a better shot at getting a guy like a Brett Bielema because they're showing that they've got a little bit of a commitment to football because their facilities and their stadium lagging way behind the rest of the conference at one point.
Yeah, and when you're located where you are, you don't really have any excuses for that to happen. I mean, you should be dominating, recruiting that region and. You see year in and year out that all the top guys from that state go elsewhere.
Dylan Scott, thanks for the comment there. Mark, I know you probably already said your prediction, but could you again, if you don't mind? Well, I don't know what prediction exactly that you're looking for there, Dylan. I appreciate the question. So keep in mind, Dylan, that we've got a Patreon page, and I like to keep those folks recognized and honor their contributions. So I leave my predictions over there on Patreon. So they're all on record over there. And we're in the midst, of course, doing our bowl predictions, and we will pick off all the games day by day over there on Patreon. So please join me there. Just go to Patreon, search MarkRogersTV. You get an insider look to what we do here at the Voice of College Football. You get predictions from me. You get an insider look. You get Steve Merrill from Pro Sports Info, his betting edge. insight. We've got watch parties and exclusive live streams over there. All right. I may have touched on this the last time we got together right after National Signing Day, Greg, but I am curious, and of course we've got new people in here all the time, in regards to heading toward that first Wednesday of February and that second National Signing Day, and just your thoughts about who are the big targets and the possibilities there.
Well, right now there aren't per se any big targets besides kind of just some guys that haven't really announced when they're going to make their decision. And we talked about the outside linebacker out of Hawaii. He's definitely high up on their list. Right now, I think they're just kind of playing things, a little bit safe right now with having 5-6 spots open. I know they're kind of counting heavily on going with the transfer portal route with what they've got left. They're kind of looking for some guys to come in and give them some immediate help, whether that's through the transfer portal or from the JUCO. Now, JUCO is kind of hard to gauge right now since they didn't even have a season. So I'm sure that eliminates a lot of possibilities, and everybody's in the same boat on that. So, besides a couple, I wouldn't expect them to take more than about 2 to 3 more actual high school prospects right now. So, and that's just kind of depend on where guys kind of fall, with other kind of opportunities that might arise, because as we know with the times that we're living through right now, that recruiting's never been like this before, where you can't actually go and visit the school that you're going to decide to go play at for 4 or 5 years. And, it's hard to kind of gauge if that's going to be the right place for you when you can't even set foot there. We've seen kids commit before without visiting the school, and I don't know, sometimes that goes okay, sometimes doesn't work out so well. So, yeah, right now, it's just kind of just play it by ear and kind of grab what you need to when it comes available. Kind of like playing free agency right now, in my opinion.
Talking Nebraska football here every Wednesday, or, between Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm going to be all over the place. If I was going to screw it up, I went the wrong direction in the week. All right. It's every Thursday night, typically Thursday night at 6 o'clock Eastern and 5 o'clock Central. We're, of course, coming your way on a Friday night this week because of the holiday and a lot of attention on Christmas Eve. So we got Greg Peterson, as we do each and every week. He's been here 10 consecutive weeks for us from Husker Online on Rivals. Shane, again, appreciate the Super Chat contribution. And Shane brings to mind that this show and others here are possible based on your individual contributions and also sponsorship. So right now it's coming from Phone Genie. We want you to check out, and I'll put up the banner here in just a second to find folks and the Husker fans at Phone Genie. You can go to ToleyBrothersLLC.com. And again, I'll have the banner posted in just a second. ToleyBrothersLLC.com. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Germs are important, or germ mitigation. And they have some tremendous products there for germ mitigation in both the home setting and workspace as well. That's ToleyBrothersLLC.com. I'll get the banner up in just a second. And again, our sponsorship coming to an end here at some point. So if you've got any contacts for sponsorships, that will help keep our show alive. And so just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. MarkRogersTV at Gmail if you have any contacts for sponsorships. We appreciate everybody. Just for the past couple of weeks, we've extended our feed out to Facebook and to Twitter. And D-Rock Irish is asking this question from Twitter, who basically is going to the proverbial hot seat for Scott Frost. Is 2021 going to be the year where it's kind of make or break, hot seat year for Coach Frost?
Yeah, I mean, I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier. You're going into year 4 now, and you haven't shown any improvements. And if they finish another season with 4 wins, yeah, he's on the hot seat. There's still a long-term deal here, and he's going to have a lot longer leash than a lot of guys would. I mean, he does obviously has the longest leash that anybody would have. But another year without a bowl appearance with a losing season, and yeah, it's time to put up or shut up after that. I think that leaving a year on their deal would be fine with Nebraska at that point. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because it's still, this is such a young ball club, and that the cupboard was so bare when he got here that this has taken a lot longer, and it's been a lot bigger of a rebuild than I think anybody ever thought it was. So another recruiting class, and we've seen that he consistently gets top 20 recruiting classes, and eventually you build up the roster. You get this depth that you so desperately need. That's been the biggest thing is you just don't have enough guys. It seems like every year one position group just gets hit hard with injuries, and you just don't have enough guys there to make a difference anymore. So yeah, you got to get these classes built up, and Scott Frost and his staff know all about the walk-on tradition here that helps out this team so much. And I think that's something that we did not mention when we were talking about signing day is that, they've already added 12 walk-ons to this class. So technically their class is already over 30 guys. And, some of these walk-ons are guys that gave up scholarships to come and walk on at Nebraska. So, once you build this roster up the way you need to with the talent that they keep on bringing in, and then you've got to develop this talent. We've seen we're still trying to look for an identity for this team. It seems like the execution just is not there. When Scott Frost got here, everybody quotes that he said that he was going to make the Big 12 change and have to adapt to him. And we see that hasn't happened. So you've got to get a direction, and I think that's what people are wanting the most is to know is what kind of team are we going to see here? Are we going to see an offense that flounders, that doesn't have any direction, or are we going to see some continuity going on here and getting guys involved? And if guys are not getting it done in practice, there may need to be some changes, because I think week in and week out around here, we hear how good practice was and how great they did. It's the best practice ever. And it doesn't translate onto the field. So, like we kind of mentioned earlier, they've got to do a lot of evaluating here. And, if Scott Frost is going to have to make some tough decisions and maybe make some more changes in the staff, maybe that's a direction that goes, but everybody's got their own style of coaching, and maybe Coach Frost has to take a long look at himself and maybe change some of the ways that he's doing things too. But another year of this, obviously, he's going to be on the hot seat to answer that question in a very long-winded way.
We get Greg Peterson on the line from Rivals Husker Online, so the Rivals brand. Check out Greg and the rest of the staff there at Husker Online on Rivals. We've been doing Nebraska Live here for 10 weeks. Greg's been here every week giving us a great insight into Nebraska football. When you talk about that, Greg, something comes to mind, and this was at Ohio State between the transition of Earl Bruce to John Cooper. So I'm going all the way back to 1987-88. And Earl Bruce had a nice run at Ohio State, not legendary type stuff for a school with those kind of expectations, but he had the best record in the Big Ten during his 9 years and was winning 78 to 80%, more than 80% of his games. Anyway, he leaves. John Cooper comes in from Arizona State, who probably just thought, I'm going to Ohio State and there's going to be talent all over the place. And he was shocked at they had down cycled, and he was surprised to see that he was going to build the program back up at a place like Ohio State. Has Scott Frost made any comments as to the condition of the talent, the personnel when he arrived, and if he was surprised at all?
Oh yeah, he was shocked. I mean, completely shocked that it could have dropped down to the levels that it did. I mean, guys weren't accountable when he got here. Guys were lazy. They weren't required to be in the weight room. They weren't required to eat a specific diet. They could go out and eat McDonald's anytime they wanted to. It was a joke, really. Yeah, he could not believe how bad it was, and yeah, he's commented on that several times. And you still. And you're talking about young kids that are really talented, but if their head's not in it and their heart's not in it, then you don't need those guys around here. And I think that's been like the biggest problem with it's been a lot of guys that were settled in this program that you needed to have time to get them out of here and to have them move on and graduate or leave on their own. But yeah, I mean. This program had gotten down. I mean, a lot of people did not realize how low things had gotten around here, as far as even not welcoming back former stars, former legends around here. It got to that point where guys wouldn't even want to come around here because they weren't welcome. And you had to change a lot of that. I mean, the culture just shifted and just. You had administrations in here that didn't care about the legends of college football, of what this game meant to this whole state, and you see what it did, and it's taken so long to get things changed around, and I with Bill Moose as an AD, that was the first move to get things going in the right direction, and. With him and Scott Frost, like I said, it's going to take time, but those guys have got it figured out. They're going to get it right. And, Bill Moose is a guy that, this guy, all he does is hire stars. I mean, he's hired Scott Frost. He's hired Fred Hoiberg. Nebraska does what they need to do to get this thing turned around, and they're gonna. So it just takes some time.
Talking Nebraska football here, and it's brought to you by the fine folks in the Husker Fans there at Phone Genie. You see it on the banner there, ToleyBrothersLLC.com for germ mitigation products right there. And again, ToleyBrothersLLC.com. That's for both home and for work products for germ mitigation. So Scott Frost, the two previous jobs being at Oregon and it being at UCF as a head coach and an offensive coordinator, in addition to his ties to Nebraska, it all just seemed to be perfect. It was like this guy's a young guy with energy. He's got a presence about him. He's strong. He's can command a room, command a team, but he's still young enough to have that energy and drive. And he's also proven it. Look what he did at UCF, and then look at what he did as an offensive coordinator at Oregon. And the ties to the program are just obvious. When you can bring back a hero who's performed at the highest level and won national championships, there's hardly any programs that can really do that. Bring a guy who won a national championship and has proven himself as a coach is pretty rare. And he did so much again with the offenses at those two spots. Do you think he's gotten to a point? Has he made any comments that maybe he's not as innovative as he would like to be because he can't be or doesn't feel as though the personnel allows him to be?
No, and I don't think he would admit that. I don't think he's not the kind of guy that wants to show any chinks in the armor. But and kind of when you think about it too. Ever since he got this job, it was really kind of been behind the eight ball, it seems like. I mean, he hasn't even had like a regular season yet. When he first got here, the first game of the year got canceled against Akron because of a freak thunderstorm. And so you didn't even get to play your home opener after you had the tunnel walk. You had 90,000 people all ready to go for Scott Frost's opening night, and then all of a sudden you're stuck there till midnight until the game gets canceled, and then you go out against Colorado the next game, and Adrian Martinez gets hurt, and I guess that's the second year Adrian Martinez gets hurt, and then you have a COVID year, so nothing has even.
That was the first year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Frost has been there for 3 years. It was the one in Lincoln, right, against Colorado.
He got hurt in that game, but I meant he was hurt last year because he never really recovered from that, because that was that hit that the Colorado guy had made, the little extracurricular bending of the ankle there, that he got caught on camera doing. But yeah, then the second year last year, being behind the eight ball, not having a healthy Adrian Martinez like you had planned to have, a guy that started the year as a Heisman candidate, and you don't have him all year, and you struggle with a backup, several backups, and then this year, it's strange for everybody. So we're still kind of waiting to have a true season as we remember them to be with this coaching staff. So, but yeah, I think he's a smart enough guy to take a look at himself, and he surrounds himself with guys that are winners and that he can trust. And that comes along. He's a disciple of Tom Osborne. Same way, Tom Osborne surrounded himself with all kinds of winners, guys that could get the job done, to do the things that Tom didn't have to do. Tom Osborne was not one of those coaches that would come in your face and curse you out up and down. He had other guys to do that for you. He wasn't going to do that to you. And Coach Frost is kind of like that too. Coach Frost kind of uses humor a little bit more than Coach Osborne used to. But, they're cut out of the same cloth. And, like I said, they're smart enough that they surround themselves with the guys that can get that job done. And, if there are any questions about that, I'm sure that Coach Frost is going to be addressing that real soon here. And I'm not trying to throw any assistant coaches under the bus at all, because these guys are all great guys, and they have proven that they can win as a team, as a coaching staff. So I expect them, next year, once they get things, I think all the problems right now are offensively, because we've seen the defense getting much better. And once they get these kinks worked out offensively, I don't know if that's Scott Frost giving up calling plays. Coach Lubick, I'm not sure where he stands with all of this. I don't know if he wants to be calling the plays at this point. But, we've just seen this inconsistent offense that it needs to get worked out. And, you're not going to win many games in the Big Ten if you can't mix it up like that, because defenses are just too good. They're going to take away what you can do and not let you do anything. So, yeah, I expect things to be much better. And, like I said earlier, though, too, that it's murderer's row with a schedule that is not going to be forgiving whatsoever. The only good news about that schedule is the final 4 games are at home of the season.
So, Greg, this is a bit of a loaded question in that every situation's different. Every program's different in this situation. But everybody, it's not an excuse, because everybody has to undergo it at some point when there's a transition of coaches. So typically that previous coach usually gets fired on Black Sunday, the day after the season ends. We see about, not as many this year, but usually about 12 to 15 coaches gone around college football. Then there's a mad scramble and domino effect from there. So that's right with this early signing period for the past 4 years, right in the middle of recruiting and all of that. So then there's typically a coach that's hired in the next week to 2 weeks, something in that range around bowl play near the first of the year. And they're trying to play catch up with a class that was usually signed right around the time they're getting hired.
Yeah.
And then most of those, I think we're at about 80, 85% of it signed in December, as opposed to now only about 10 to 15, 20% maybe in February. You know, I guess I'm speaking the obvious challenges, but you being a recruiting guy, maybe outline a little bit better the challenge that first year for a coach coming in, trying to just maintain a class.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, you know, back when we were doing this, when I was on the national side of things, you know, signing day was like Christmas, you know, and it was always that first Wednesday in February. And that's what your payoff was for. You worked so hard all year to get to that day and, you know, to sign that class. And I remember, you know, we'd go in at Rivals. We would go in at 4 a.m. on signing day, and we wouldn't leave there until about 4 a.m. the next day. It was crazy. And, you know, every coach knew that was their sign, you know, that was the day, that's what you were working for. This is your class. This is the day that it's going to pay off for you. Now, like you said, all of a sudden you get done with your season and you lose a coach, and you've already got this class already signed, and now you've got a new guy coming in. You got to start all the way over again and re-recruit these guys that are already committed to your school. That's probably the biggest hurdle. When Scott Frost got in here, you know, he was still trying to coach Central Florida in a bowl game. And so he was flying back and forth from Orlando to Lincoln like a crazy guy, trying to keep the guys committed that were in the class already, that were committed to Mike Riley. And he did a heck of a job, really, salvaging that class and then adding a few pieces to it. But that's I mean, for a coach, I mean, and even to do what he did was incredible. I mean, most of these guys are going to leave their old school and not stay on. I mean, most of those schools don't want them to stay on. That's why they fired them. But you know, he felt obligated to stay there and coach those guys in their last game, and he did. And I don't think the guy slept for about 2 months. And you could tell he was really run down, and that took a lot out of him. And you know what? I don't know if he's even recovered from that yet. I mean, that's just how hard it was. And I feel so sorry for any of these coaches that have to take over. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the early signing day because it has turned into now it is your major signing day. And the late one in February is now kind of an afterthought. It's just kind of, it's there for the guys that, you know, didn't want to make their choice, you know, still trying to think things through, didn't have that gut feeling. And so then that turns the second signing day now into it's such a more watered down pool of guys out there. You don't see, you know, how signing day used to be when, you know, everybody was making their announcement. They weren't just signing; they were making their commitment. You know, doing the hat trick on the table all the time. And you know, I've done many of those myself. I've been on the other end of that camera for Rivals many a signing days. And it's just not like that anymore. You know, nowadays the kids they're announcing their commitments on Twitter, and they're having somebody else do a hype video for them or what have you. And so it's really watered it down, in my opinion. And it makes, anytime there's that coaching change, man, it makes that job twice as difficult. And you know, you're still trying to scramble around. Maybe you're lucky enough not to have like a huge class that you need to sign. Maybe, you know, if you're lucky to be one of those that only has like 14 or 15 scholarship open, but it's a pain in the butt. And I guarantee you the coaches, they feel that. And the ones that are established and know they're not going to go anywhere, they love this new signing day. They love getting it done when they get it done. And then they can kind of coast like Nebraska's doing right now with no pressure. But when there's that coaching change, obviously, yeah, you're way behind the 8 ball.
Got 2 questions for you in the live chat if you've got time for them, Greg.
Yeah.
Got David Stein asking, here is a Nebraska question for your guest. In the pros, new sentence, and Ndamukong Suh developed a reputation for not being a great guy. Are there any stories when he was at Nebraska foreshadowing that?
You know what? None whatsoever. He was loved by all, and he never really you know, you never ever thought that he was a dirty player whatsoever when he was at Nebraska. I mean, he was a very emotional player. He wore his emotions on his sleeve, and he was a fiery guy. And you saw what he did. He dominated college football there for a couple of years. And I think that like some of the problems in the NFL have just come from frustration, from not winning as much as he kind of was used to. Because you remember, I don't know if you remember the time that they threw him a pass against Colorado on Black Friday, and he scored a touchdown. Man, that stadium just erupted, and he was like the most loved son of Nebraska football ever, and the god of college football kind of thing. So I just think that came from a little bit of frustration. Just not winning as much as he'd like to, and kind of having that reputation. As being a number one draft pick type guy, and just his NFL career not really turning out the way he kind of wanted it to be. But he's still got time.
And then Brad asked about the quarterback battle in 2021. Who you anticipate winning?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, you got to see. We got to see who sticks around, because in this day and age, if you only have one quarterback, you don't have enough. You got to have enough guys, because you got to have enough balls to go around. Nobody's going to be happy. This is going to be a battle. Now, what I can tell you is that these guys had a plan. This is pre-COVID, that they all were on board with. It was kind of a staggered thing where, obviously Adrian Martinez was going to be your elder statesman. Then you had Luke McCaffrey coming in, and then you had Logan Smothers coming in, and they were all staggered apart enough to where they were all happy with that arrangement, where each one of them is going to succeed the next when they move on. Now, with COVID being thrown into this whole thing, and everybody getting an extra year, now all the cards are on the table. I mean, you don't know if somebody's going to stick around. Because you have three highly recruited, athletic quarterbacks that any school in the country would love to have. I don't expect Adrian Martinez to be going anywhere, and I expect him really to go out and win the battle next year, and have Luke as his backup, and Logan Smothers behind him, and then kind of see what happens following that year. Now, if Luke's not happy, backing up again for another year, then he could transfer, because right now is the time to transfer. With the rules the way they are, you can go anywhere you want and play right away. So yeah, if they stick around, it's going to be a battle, and I expect Adrian to win that. And I think he showed you why in those last few games of the year, the way he played.
Folks, do us a favor. We started a Nebraska channel here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. So full disclosure here, I'm not trying to fool anybody. It's going to be the exact same content that you see here, just presented differently at this point. So this is what we've done with all these team-specific channels. Is I'll take maybe a conversation with Greg or another contributor. It's typically Greg, or this live stream, and I edit the live stream into the topics that, and so there's 7-8 minute videos. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll start to have new, fresh, unique content there, but we need to get to 1,000 subscribers to make it sensible, to make it work. And so it justifies the time put into it. So please head on over there, whether you just want to help build the brand here and the channel, regardless of who you root for. But certainly if you're a Nebraska fan, because you're going to see some extra content over there very soon. So please head on over there, Voice of College Football Nebraska, and then fill in a bunch of other teams, and you'll find the same thing. Ohio State, Michigan, Texas. I won't go down the whole list. There's about so we're doing our best here to build this thing up, and we appreciate you. And if you've got any ideas, I mean real ideas, not just again, I appreciate the people that have done this in the past, but don't just write me an email and say, Mark, why don't you get Coca-Cola as a sponsor? Yeah, I can figure that out. So if you have a real contact that you know of that you can actually contact and help me bring in, then please send me an email. It's easy to remember, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Right now we got the fine folks there and the Husker fans there at Phone Genie, so TotallyBrothersLLC.com. So we appreciate them servicing us and providing for us and sponsoring us for these 10 weeks. And the appreciation that we have for Greg Peterson of Husker Online and what he brings in regards to his wealth of knowledge and insight and experience working in a place like Rivals. So know that your individual contributions help us there as well. So thank you so much for that, Greg. Appreciate you jumping on board here on a Christmas night.
No problem.
And you got the little festive background. That was nice too. Looks good. So have a good week, and we will see you soon, of course.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Greg.
Happy
Everybody else, I'm going to stay on here. Just keep it on here on the front page of the channel, and I'm going to do a call-in show for however long you guys want to call me. So that's coming up right here. Just keep it right here. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.